Right now, you are doing one of three things with Nvidia. You own it, you wish you had bought it, or you are watching someone you know get rich on it and quietly wondering if you already missed it. The people who understand this market better than anyone are doing none of the three. They are backing away. Michael Burry, the man who saw the 2008 housing crash before almost anyone, disclosed he was betting against the AI darlings, Nvidia among them.
As far as I can tell, the two companies he's shorting are the ones making all the money, which is super weird. Like, the idea that chips and ontology is what you want to short is bat crazy.
Days earlier, he had had a single post on X. Sometimes, the only winning move is not to play. 8 days later, SoftBank confirmed it had sold its entire Nvidia stake, 32 million shares. $5.8 billion gone. 3 days after that, with Nvidia's biggest earnings of the year only days away, Peter Thiel's fund disclosed it had also sold every share it owned. While its founder stood on a stage, looked at a falling market, and called it a buying opportunity. So one of two groups is about to be very wrong: the people walking out, or everyone still walking in. Here is what should stop you. The last time it played out exactly like this, the company at the center was not a fraud. It was not a scam. It was the most valuable company on the planet in the most innovative industry at the time. Then it lost 90% of its value. More than $400 billion gone. People who put in everything watched it vanish. That company was Cisco. It was the leader of the .com bubble, and on paper, it looked almost exactly like Nvidia looks right now. So either the smartest investors of the last 20 years all lost their nerve at the same moment by coincidence, or they're looking at something the rest of the market does not want to see. It is not in the stock price. The stock price looks perfect. You have to look where the money is coming from. And once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. Let us be honest about Nvidia first, because if we are not, you should not trust anything else in this video. This is not a house of cards. 2 years ago, Nvidia's annual revenue was about $60 billion. Last year, it cleared $200 billion. It controls roughly 9 out of every 10 chips that train the world's artificial intelligence. When a tech giant builds an AI, the road runs through Nvidia, and Nvidia charges a toll on every mile. The cash is real, it is already in the bank, and that is exactly what makes this strange. When Cisco was at its peak, it was priced for a future it had not earned yet. Nvidia has already earned its. So the smartest early investors should be holding on with both hands. They are doing the opposite. To understand why, you cannot start in 2026. You have to start with a company that became the most valuable on Earth, and then fell apart while its numbers still looked fine. In March of 2000, Cisco Systems was the most valuable public company in the world. It built the routers and switches that were, literally, the physical components of the entire internet. Investors did not see a hardware company. They saw the internet itself, with a ticker. The stock hit $80.06. Serious analysts said out loud it would become the first company in history worth $1 trillion. It traded at around 200 times its earnings, a number that only makes sense if you believe the growth will never stop. And Cisco was not lying. This was not Enron or FTX. No great accounting fraud sat at the center of this. The business was real. The dominance was real. So what broke it? Cisco did not just sell equipment. It lent its customers the money to buy it. Watch what that does. Cisco books a sale, revenue climbs, the stock climbs. But the demand was not entirely real. Some of it was Cisco's own money, going out one door and coming back through another, dressed up as a customer. Underneath all of it was a build-out that defied belief. Telecom companies, certain the internet's appetite was infinite, laid more than 80 million miles of fiber optic cable across the country. The slogan of the era was simple: build it and the demand will come. Less than 5% of that cable was ever switched on. The rest sat dark in the ground. When the customers ran out of money, they stopped buying, and they could not repay what Cisco had lent them. In a single quarter, Cisco wrote off more than $2 billion in inventory and posted a loss of nearly $3 billion. The most valuable company in the world started bleeding overnight. The demand was never fake. It was borrowed against a tomorrow that had not arrived. Now hold that exact shape in your mind. The lending, the circle, the building ahead of the need. And look at where the money in artificial intelligence comes from today. By 2026, analysts had counted more than $800 billion moving in circles through the AI industry. Not customers paying companies, companies paying each other. Follow $1. Nvidia commits up to $100 billion to OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT. OpenAI commits hundreds of billions to cloud companies like Oracle to build its data centers. Those data centers are filled with chips bought from Nvidia. The money leaves Nvidia, travels through the industry, and comes back to Nvidia as revenue. If that sounds familiar, it should. It is Cisco lending its customers the money to buy Cisco gear, 25 years later, with 3 more zeros. And here's the detail that gives it away. When SoftBank sold its $6 billion of Nvidia, it did not leave. It put the money straight into OpenAI. It sold the company that makes the chips to fund the company that buys the chips. It did not step out of the loop. It stepped deeper in. For one moment in early 2026, the market saw how fragile this is. A report surfaced that the Nvidia and OpenAI deal had stalled, and 3 of the largest companies on Earth shook at once. OpenAI's chief executive went public to insist he did not understand where all the, quote, insanity was coming from. Oracle announced that it remained highly confident OpenAI could pay its bills. And that is the tell. When a company has to announce that everything is fine, the market has already started to wonder why it needed saying. Nobody yet knows the real return on the hundreds of billions being spent. They are laying the fiber. They are certain the demand will come. So that is the machine. Real company, real money, financed in a circle, built ahead of the need. But a machine does not explain why the smartest people in the room keep feeding it. For that, you have to stop looking at the money and start looking at the belief. Here's what almost everyone gets wrong about bubbles. They think a bubble is built on a lie. It is the opposite. The most dangerous ones are built on the truth. The internet was real. It did change everything. And that is exactly what made the price impossible to question. When the story is true, doubting the valuation feels like doubting the future, and nobody wants to be the fool who bet against the future. In 1998, an analyst put a $400 price target on Amazon when it traded near 240. It was called reckless. Then it hit 400 within weeks, and he was crowned a visionary. Millions of ordinary investors followed him into internet stocks. Here's the cruel part. He was right. Amazon went on to become one of the most valuable companies in history. It also fell 93% first. The people who bought at the top, because a genius swore the future was certain, were wiped out on the way to him being proven correct. Being right about the company did not save them. It never does. So that is what the smart money saw. Not a crash. Nobody can see a crash. They saw a shape. And the most unsettling thing about this loop is not that it exists. It is that it has been built before, with different parts, by people every bit as certain as the ones building it now. To understand what the people walking out are actually afraid of, you cannot look at Nvidia. You have to look at the last 300 years. London, 1720. All of Britain believed one company would make them rich beyond imagining. The South Sea Company held a monopoly on trade with the New World, and the promise of that wealth was intoxicating. Its shares rose nearly tenfold in a year. The smartest man alive, Isaac Newton, sold early for a profit, then could not bear watching his friends grow richer. He bought back in at the top and lost a fortune. They called it the South Sea Bubble. New York, 1929. America believed it had entered a new era. Mass production, modern industry, prosperity without end. The old rules of boom and bust, people said, no longer applied. The most famous economist in the country announced that stocks had reached a permanently high plateau. 9 days later, the worst crash in history, the Great Depression, began. Families lost everything. The market did not recover for 25 years. Tokyo, 1989. The world believed the future belonged to Japan. Its companies would rule the coming century, so its land and its stocks could only climb. At the peak, the ground beneath Tokyo's Imperial Palace was said to be worth more than all of California. Then the Tokyo Stock Exchange crashed, and everyone who bought at the top waited 34 years just to get back what they paid. It recovered only in 2024, carried over the line by the earnings of one AI chip company, Nvidia. Railways, 1840s. The railroad would change everything. It did. The investors were ruined anyway. .com, 2000. The internet would change the world. It did. The Nasdaq fell 80% anyway. Housing, 2008. They swore the market was the most stable. It crashed nonetheless. Crypto, 2021. Money itself was being reinvented. $3 trillion believed it. 2/3 vanished in a year. Every time, the room was sure. Every time, a handful walked out early into the laughter of everyone still buying. And every time, it took a generation to recover, which is exactly how long it takes to forget. We are right on schedule. Every person in every one of those stories believed the same thing, that they were the one standing outside the bubble, looking in. Calm. Not one of them was. They were not wrong about the future. The internet was real. AI is real. They were wrong about the price. And being right about one thing let them stop asking about the other. Go back to the three who walked out at the very start. When SoftBank sold its Nvidia and rotated the money straight into the loop it had just left, its own finance chief was asked the only question that matters. Is this a bubble? And on the record, he answered that they could not tell. The smart money did not leave because they could see a crash coming. Nobody can. They left because they stopped needing to be right about the top. The rest of us will stay, certain, until certainty is the most expensive thing we own. Power is not built on correctly predicting the technology of the future. It is built on knowing when belief outgrows the value. And ruin begins the moment we ignore the patterns of the past. Every collapse runs the same playbook. We take them apart here, one at a time. Subscribe, and you might be the one who walks out early.